Shadina Williams asked how David Lynch came to be present at previous meetings, and Chair Drummer explained that Mr. Lynch was asked to assist us as the general counsel, and the chair further explained that Mr. Lynch was not present on this evening because Mr. Lynch is not bound by contract from council and felt it best that he not attend until such contract is in place. The committee began discussion, and Stanley Johnson stated that the Commissioner of Building and Zoning is not a department head, but rather an employee of the city. Danielle Cadu stated that the mayor should be able to pick his or her own staff. Law Director Todd Hunt stated that the ordinance stating that the council must approve the mayor's assistance is in conflict with the charter, and that ordinances cannot supersede the charter. It is council's purview to change or repeal an ordinance. Any further discussion was tabled to Councilman O'Toole's presentation. Mr. O'Toole gave a history of his presence in Richmond Heights and that he has been on council since 1991. He stated that it is his belief that the Charter Review Committee is the voice of the people and that there should be a balance with the mayor and council. He stated that after reviewing the minutes from previous committee meetings and past discussions, that it is felt that council has too much power. His pointed view clearly was that he is against any change to the charter that will give any additional authority or power to the mayor. Mr. O'Toole received questions. Question, Mr. Drummer. How can council president and the mayor move to get to a positive focus on the city? Answer. Each side should work to balance out each other's idea. It has to start with a meeting of the minds. Question, Shadina Williams. The electors voted for a change and voted both the mayor and council in. However, council does not appear to be willing to allow the change to happen. Your opinion? Answer. I am open to sitting down with the mayor to effectuate some of the change that needs to happen. The council is the representative of the people, and their representation is what is most important. Comment, Stephanie Douglas. Each ward is represented by a council member. However, that council person is not necessarily the choice of the people when that particular council had no opposition for election purposes. The mayor, on the other hand, was elected with 3 other candidates, and by victory, the people spoke the desired choice. Comment, Mr. Drummer. The committee is here to review and analyze what changes, if any, need to be made, and then present those recommended changes to the electors. Question, Elliot Eisenberg. What are your thoughts on changing the start date for the incoming mayor? Answer, I don't see where changing the date really makes much difference. Question, Elliot Eisenberg. Please clarify your statement that election of council is more important than election of the mayor. Answer, an elected body is representative of the city, and that the electors know the importance of electing individuals to represent them, and by electing their council person from that particular ward, that speaks greater validity than the election of the mayor. Comment, Donald Houston. Council represents one of each ward. The mayor is elected by the totality of the city electors that gives rise that the mayor is representative of all the people. Comment, Stephanie Douglas. Again, a candidate without opposition is not a choice of the people. Question, Shadina Williams. Shouldn't council be attuned to welcoming new residents to the individual ward and the city? Answer, it should be something council persons do. However, it needs to be more of a collective effort on the city as a whole. Service Director Lazar was not present. Chair German stated that we needed to select guests for the next set of meetings. April 1st will be devoted entirely to the Finance Director. April 8th, Service Director Lazar will again be invited, and an invitation will be extended to remaining council members for the April 15th meeting. The forum was open for public comment. Daisy Griggs, a 12-year resident, stated that when she initially moved into the community, she felt isolated. She knew who the mayor was, however, she was never able to meet him. She voted for and supports the mayor, the current mayor, and she is looking forward to the changes that will come to the city in spite of the constant opposition being thrown her way. Charles Perkins, also a 12-year resident, extended well wishes to the committee. The next committee meeting is April 1st, 2014 at 6 o'clock p.m. Stanley Johnson moved that the meeting be adjourned. Shadina Williams second. The meeting was adjourned at 7:05 p.m. Respectfully submitted, Stephanie Douglas, interim recording secretary.
Thank you, Stephanie.
You're welcome.
Are there any additional corrections to the minutes?
I move that they be accepted as read.
We move. Then second. All in favor? Aye. All opposed? Motion carried. Today we have Mr. Don Lazar, who's our service director for Richmond Heights community. And thank you for joining us. And we appreciate any comments or insight that you give to the committee. So
apologize for not being at the other meeting. My calendar was just misread, but I was here for the council meeting. So
Thank
I
you.
apologize for that. I could probably just give you people some of my background if you like. I'll be retiring June 1st this year. I'll probably have at that time a total of 52 and a half years of public service. Started off in South Euclid. I was a mechanic and rose up to supervisor and superintendent, and then assistant service director in 1970. This was in the early 60s. In 1977, the city approached me for the service director position, and I refused it at the time because I didn't feel as though I had the qualifications to be a service director. And then in 1980 again, I was approached for the same position, and I refused at that time. So I stayed as the general superintendent, and when the service director was not around or whatever, I took his job. And then I came here in 1990. I had some military service. There were 77 applicants. I saw them piled up on the desk, and I said, let's forget about that. And it ended up, they chose me. And I've been here ever since. And I enjoyed my tour here. Not a brushed up individual as far as computers and whatever. I was a working service director, actually working, cleaning the streets with this road sweeper. They didn't have one. I purchased one from Shaker Heights for $5,000, and we refinished it. It got in good shape. We never had a bucket truck here to trim trees or whatever. I purchased one of those from Shaker Heights also for about $2,000 or $3,000. That big machine, we still have it. So
I was wondering when I looked there, my taxes were so high.
So probably what I'm trying to say is I through the years, any job that I had in any position, the community never had money. They just didn't have a lot of money. So I was always a person to make sure that the equipment that we had was running at all times, and I was not an individual to keep buying new equipment. We just took care of what we had. And that's what you have over here in Richmond Heights at this time. We have a lot of old equipment. Fortunately, we have some decent mechanics that can keep the stuff on the road, and that's where we're at. So when I turned 72, January 31st of this year, something, I don't know, my aunt passed away, a dear aunt of mine, at 91 years old. A year before that, she said, you better get out of your job and, start enjoying yourself and all that. So probably by her passing away and us going through a lot of dealings of most actually getting rid of all the household things that they accumulate through the years and so on, it sort of just got me to the point that I think it's time for me to throw in the towel. And that's where I'm at. But I don't want to leave the city in distress. I want to try to help out and do what I can to make sure that the service department is stable before I get out of my position. And that's basically what I have to say.
Are there any questions for Mr. Lazar?
Are there any parts of the charter that you'd like to discuss?
Probably at the top of my head, no. I'm going through a situation now with my removal of my position, but I can't discuss it at this time. I think for the department heads, I think that the city is fair the way they handle it. Pretty much, I was always the type of person, I never liked bucking the boss, okay? I was in the military, I got to be a staff sergeant. If this is the way it is, that's the way it is. And that's the approach I took through the years. I went through about 5 mayors, many council people in my days. I hired 497 people in all the years that I worked, because I was in charge of rubbish in South Yuba. It was a big deal in those days. And through the years, as I got older, I always went back to, maybe because of my age, trying to take care of the residents that needed special attention, especially the seniors. Probably the past 10 years, I focused quite a bit on the widow that's husband passed away. She still wants to try to keep the big house going. And it's a real task. And in fact, there's something that Cleveland.com that I made in there about that. But probably if you people bring up some areas in the charter that might involve my position or whatever, I'd be more than glad to comment. How's that?
I've got a question. How about the fact that it takes, if the mayor decided that she didn't want you as service director anymore, what do you think about the fact that it takes 5 members of council to make that happen?
Well, I have to be honest about that, okay? I think it should stay the way it is. That's my opinion. That was one of the reasons why I left employment in South Yuba. I feel that if you're working so many years on a job, okay, for one person to decide your destiny after so many years of service, I don't think it's fair. And in Richmond Heights, it's a situation that once the mayor appoints a person, and there were 77 applicants. The service director at the time, his name was Jackie Franco. He had 25 years service. I knew him, but what his function was here, I don't know. He spoke very highly of me because he knew me from a neighboring city. Council still interviewed me, every one of them. They had a chance to they had 3 questions each once. There were 7 people that I interviewed through the process. And when the interview was completed, they were totally satisfied. They all had their thumbs up, which I didn't know what that meant. I left the meeting, I went home, and a month or 2 later I was hired. And so I feel that it's a fair way of doing things. You know, there's times that you might have a little difference of opinion with your boss. And I hate to see a person get canned for something like that. If it's something that's a serious situation, the person's not going to have the job anyway. He's going to be gone, and everybody on council is going to agree with the mayor, or they should, to get rid of the person. And again, it's just my opinion. Okay, I think it's a good factor. And hopefully you get a decent service director here. He's not going to be a Don Lazar. He'll probably be a better person because he's going to be into technologies. I'm not in that. All right. So he might end up being a better person. All right. But I would ever. They hired me for the city, and I was looking for the ad that was in the paper. I definitely fit that, whatever that was. I was right there. Of course, the mayor in South Yuba at the time was angry that I left, and he was a good friend of mine. But 6 months later, we made up, and he agreed that I was definitely the person for the job in the city, which made me feel good. So he had my support. So that's my opinion about that.
That's right. Okay. Any other questions?
Yes, I'm sorry.
No, sure.
What kind of support do you have? Who do you have to assist you? This is major. I mean, there's a lot of areas of responsibility here.
I have a foreman, okay? he was brought from South Euclid to work for me, not as a foreman, just as an employee. Very good employee. He's been here back about 30 years. Been with me. Very loyal. The only problem I have about that position, okay, and this is not a good thing for like the fellow that I have. He's in the union. I don't feel as though a foreman, okay, that takes control when I'm not around should be in the bargaining sector. I tried to get him out of it, okay? And the union and I went round and round, and Mr. Wells, Paul Wells, was the union. In fact, I was in the union years ago, so I know all about union steward and South Duke and everything. But I told him, I said, this isn't right. Let him get out of the union to be my foreman. Give him the money, you know, whatever it is. And I don't know, there's that position in there that says, you know, the foreman is part of the bargaining union. I disagreed. Fortunately, Mark is a good guy, and he's not going to go against me. But if I have to grab somebody out of the union to be my support, I just don't think it's right. I just don't think it's right. And that is in their contract. So what I had done, since I'm preparing for me leaving, I did choose one of the workers that we have that I felt would be a decent replacement for Mark, my foreman. He's a younger fella, he lives in the city, and he proved to me that, in fact, he's one of the youngest ones as far as age, but he's been around maybe over 10 years already. Good worker. He was a little on the cocky side, I might say, okay, at first, but he definitely matured when I offered him the chance to be the foreman here. So I'm trying to look ahead. You know, time is running out for me, but I'll even go as far as to tell you people that if I'm gone, and whenever the mayor decides for the replacement, I would be more than glad to sit down and help interview the person that she would choose. Because I think that it still has to go through council, again, just like, and I don't see a problem with that, for that position, I really don't. Because that person has to serve all the wards also. I mean, the council people were very friendly with me, and not to the point that we're partying. They were nice to me because I did take care of them in their wards, and that's what kept them elected. And we talk about Don O'Toole has been around a long, long time. I don't know if a council person should be around that long, but by all means, when I first started here, we didn't get along at all. I mean, we just didn't.
I'm interested in that statement that you just made.
Yeah.
Not as far as Mr. O'Toole and your relationship with him, but the fact that he's been around a long time.
Long, long time.
Okay.
And I have a lot of respect for the man, okay? But see, that's just a long, you know, times change, things change. You want some different ideas and so on, you know. But I mean, I get along with all of them. I want to get along with everybody, okay? Didn't matter who the mayor was that come in here. That's my boss, and I'm going to do whatever the boss tells me to do. And if I don't like it, I'm going to leave. And that's not the reason I'm retiring. Because even if Dan Urster was still here, I wouldn't stay longer than this year at all. Yes, sir.
Yes, but Mr. Lazar, you've only served under one mayor here at Richmond High, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
I have a question.
Yes.
The person you were speaking on that belongs to the union,
Yes.
and you say you don't feel comfortable putting it in.
Right, I didn't. I just didn't when we had to choose. Because there was, prior to him, there was a foreman here already that ended up retiring. In fact, he just came to see me today. He's been retired almost 9 years. But he was already the foreman when I came here, and I didn't know of it. And it was fine. But then when we went to choose another foreman, I didn't know that it had to be somebody from the bargaining unit. I didn't know that. And, but
When you think that he might be better qualified based on his experience, I mean, what I'm thinking of is that being a part of union shouldn't be a problem for him to move up within the organization. I think that it should be more promoted of him in that he has the background, he has the dedication, and it seems as if he really shouldn't have a stumbling block as far as, well, you belong to the union, and, you know, I don't really want to, I don't feel comfortable about it. To me, that just doesn't sound fair to him.
well, what is your name, sir?
Donald Houston.
Donald?
Right.
Donald. Hey, Donald, here's the problem though. It's not just in service. You have it in fire, you have it in police. It's the same situation. You have the lieutenants in the fire department and sergeants or whatever in the police department. They're all in the union, okay? So it's probably gonna be hard to get out of something like that. It's gonna be tough. I know the lieutenant in the police department, if the chief leaves, he's certainly the first guy that's gonna end up taking a test for chief if he wanted to be. And, he's in the union. They have a union there too. I tried to get that removed. I just did. Because I was only in the union in South Newcomb with the Teamsters until let's see, I started my job in '62, 1974. And the mayor said, if you want to get promoted through the years, you understand you have to get out of the bargaining. I go, well, what's in it for me? He said, here's what's in it for you. As long as you're there, you won't be promoted. You're going to be just what you are for the 30 years that you're going to be around. So guess what? I took out the dice, I gambled, and since 1974, I'd never been in a union, and I was never fired from a job. So that's, somewhere along the line, you have to give something up if you want to. And that's my philosophy, and I tell people that, okay? Well, but I'll do this, but I don't want to, lose this. Well, you know what? Life is a gamble, I'm sorry. And I took the gamble, and I lasted 52.5 years. That's a long time. Now, don't misunderstand me. I was in front of the boss a couple of times where I had a chance of him canning me, but I guess I talked him out of it. Maybe I might have took him out golfing or something the following day. He was upset with me, but all in all, I just get along with
But
it.
he couldn't terminate you without council approval anyway.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir, he could have. Oh, yes.
Okay, so now,
He could have sent me home. Done. Finished. Young family, everything else.
when you civil service?
No. Oh, no.
South Euclid, right?
But
Yes.
that's South Euclid.
Okay,
Yes.
is this your issue with foreman being part of the bargaining unit because you feel that a foreman cannot do their job from a non-biased standpoint because he is supervising people that are in the same bargaining unit as him, so he's not able to possibly do his job?
What would you think of something like that?
I
Think about it a little bit.
would understand
It's
that
all part of
maybe
it.
an issue.
We're all brothers. Okay, we're all brothers. Okay, united, right? How far can they go with discipline?
Right.
He would never discipline somebody. He'd call me if I'm in California for Timbuktu. He'd call me on the phone, and for the decision, he's not going to make it. And I always told him, when I'm gone, you handle the things the same way I would. If you have to discipline somebody, you do it. And I'm going to back you 100%.
And the union didn't have a problem with that. Well, I mean, you're handing over the authority to him when you're not
No,
there.
they didn't have a problem with that. No.
The union didn't have a problem with the foreman who's part of the bargaining unit disciplining bargaining unit
No,
employees.
they didn't have a problem with that. The guys would, yes, but no, the union didn't have a problem with that at all, no. But, I mean, Mr. Wells has passed on, his son took over, God bless his soul, but he and I used to spar all the time, we argued all the time about different, I go, it doesn't make sense. How can I have my assistant in your bargaining unit? Well, we lived with it.
How would that get changed?
It cannot get changed by
It's
the
part of
charter.
bargaining, but-
It's part of state law, state
That's fine.
collective bargaining, public collective bargaining law, that it just can't be changed. Whenever bargaining has been done now, has to go back to the table and be bargained to get the foreman out of the bargaining unit. And can't change it by charter or ordinance, so, because that,
And I think at the time, he was
Prevails.
willing to do that.
now, in 1974, when Don was talking about, there wasn't any comprehensive state collective bargaining act. It came in '84. So,
It's in your contract
so,
right now.
so you could get out of the union, you could get out of the bargaining unit in 1974. You wouldn't have that choice now. You'd be covered by the bargaining unit. So,
Yeah,
whether you
in
liked
fact,
it or not.
when that happened, if I can remember, the guy's name was Jimmy Trusso. He was like a mafia type individual. Nice guy though. He told me, he said, you know what?
Close your fingers.
He says, you do that because we want you people on our side. No, because I was already a union man. Okay, I said, that's fine. It didn't help me much in negotiations, you know, after he said that, because it seemed like they were harder on me when I was part of the administration. You know, they were tough on me. But
I would just like to say, it has nothing to do with the charter review committee, but I was the 6th president at Trubisky Woods. And I moved in first part of June, and that Labor Day weekend, we had a massive rainstorm and a real problem with one of my neighbors who had to back up into his basement. I had very little in the situation. You were out there the entire time.
I remember.
Not only with representatives of Richmond High School, but the county, if I'm correct, with the vacuums and everything else to take care of the problem. I haven't forgotten that, and I just want to say thank you.
Oh, you're welcome. You're welcome.
Any more questions for Mr.
Mr.
I'm sorry.
I think the one thing I can add, the question I think from Elliot was, there are a lot of duties here in the
there are.
charter for the
Yes.
public service director, and where do you get your help? And of course, Don, you said you're foreman, but from my experience here, what I've seen is the city engineer helps tremendously with these public improvements. And also the building commissioner, even though he's more concerned with private properties, does get involved with public sidewalks. Some of the ordinances give him certain responsibilities with respect to repair of public sidewalks and so forth, inspections, of course. So it has been parceled out a little bit.
Yeah, and I could add to that a little bit, speaking about the city engineer. His name was Lee Courtney. When I first came here, we didn't get along. Nah. But and after, you know, no, he's not gonna tell me nothing. He's wonderful. He helped me enormously on a lot of different things, and I helped him. We worked together. We're actually, the service director and the city engineer in Richmond Heights is basically at the same level. And he did he helped me a lot. Very knowledgeable, and we got along perfectly. So this is what made my job nice, you know, the harmony you have with different people you're working with. So I'm not helping you guys with your charter, I'm sure. But and again, if you bring something up, I think what you brought up, that was part of it. Am I correct or not? Yes, sir. Yeah. That's my opinion. I would not change it.
Any other questions for Mr. Miller?
Thank you for your service.
Thank you for your service, thank you for your time, thank you.
Yeah, enjoy your retirement.
Thank you.
I think you've been a great asset to the city.
Let us know where you go so we can visit.
Golf courses, I hope. Not my kids' houses that help them. They got a whole list of stuff. Forget it.
Okay, Ms. Lard, thank you, and we appreciate you
All right.
spending the time with us.
You're welcome.
We was an email by Danielle, different type of how to address the charter review, and I think I'm going to do that. What we're going to do is assign each person a section of the charter. And what it is that you're gonna be the keeper of that keys, you're gonna focus in, but we're all gonna continue to work together. So if there's any research that needs to be done, reach out, you wanna ask that individuals to do all the research, bring it back, and be the champion of that article.
I can't take credit for that.
Well,
You
sent
did
it.
it.
You sent it. You sent it, so we're gonna give you all the credit. I'm gonna introduce this to the secretary, so you don't have to write.
Thank you so
You
much.
don't have to write it. So, if you wanna open up start with the charter, section 1, article. Article 1 and Article 2, we're going to assign to Arnetta Parker. That's, and I'm just starting, I'll probably come back to Arnetta towards the end, but I'm going to try to go right through the charter and assign the names. Article 3, Stanley, I'd like you to be the leader on Article 3, the form of government and powers. And also that's the form of government article, section 1 and 2, and also Article 4, the council, section 1 through 12.
This for who, Stanley?
This is for Stanley. And if you need any help on any of these, you give me a call, I'll help anywhere I can. Okay? And if you think it's an abundance where you can't get to some, I can always get in help getting there. Shardina Williams, we gotta assign you Article 5, the mayor, section 1 through 8. In Dwayne's absence, we're going to assign him to Article 6, Administrative Department, the Boards, Commission, Section 1 through 5.
I missed one of those. Oh, thank you. Okay, here you go, Tim.
I'll print
Okay. You're after, Mr. Chairman, I missed Article 5. Who's that assigned?
it. Article 5 is going to be assigned to Shardina
Okay.
Williams. Article 6,
Oh, thank you.
Administration Department, Board, Commission, Section 1 through 5, through Dwayne Cochran. Danielle Cardew, Article 6,
Okay,
Section.
wait, I'm lost here.
Me too.
You're lost?
Okay, Dwayne's got Article 6.
Article 6, Section 1 through 5.
You know, everybody's flipping through this.
Yeah, you should be around the front.
Front page has all the sections that make it a lot easier.
You have the front page?
Oh, yeah, I have all of them, but I have.
No, if you have the front page, that's all.
Okay, yeah, I'm thinking about
Makes
it
it a lot
like
easier.
that.
You don't have
Study
to-
like that.
6 through 9. There you go.
Article 6, then.
Oh, okay.
Section 69, which is page 20 through whatever, it starts on page 20.
Section 6 through 9.
Got it.
Stephanie, Article 7, General Provisions. Article 8, Nomination and Elections, Section 1, 2, and 3. And Article 9, Section 1 through 4.
Who's doing all that?
Pardon me?
Who's doing-
Yes, yeah.
No, Stephanie.
Stephanie Douglas. See? Elliot?
Yes.
Article 10, ordinance, section 1, 2, and 3. And Article 11, Donna, we're gonna assign you Article 12, the limit rate on taxations, section 1 through 4. And I'll go back to Annetta Parker. We already assigned her Article 1 and 2. We're going to assign her Article 12, amendment to the charter section 1 and 2. Article 14, Article 15, section 1 through 6. I think this should cover the whole charter.
Mr. Chairman, a point of order.
Yes, sir.
The assignment to Arnetta would actually be Article 13 for the amendments for the charter.
13.
Yeah, on your chart it shows, you're showing
Okay.
12, but that's actually Article 13.
Thank you. Are any questions, discussions?
I have a question.
Yes.
So, how are we going to present out, or are we gonna just go in orders?
Yes, we're gonna go in orders of the article, and you'll be the champion. Whatever research needs to do, whatever language you see it in, it needs to be addressed, whatever information you wanna bring, but we're all still gonna read this total, still top of the total charter.
I got a suggestion.
Yes.
We've somewhat gone through a lot of the charter. Why don't we pick up where we left off and rotate it around and do that first and then come back to the others? That'll refresh them.
You're saying where we left off, continue.
Right.
And
because
then
it
bring-
won't take
sure.
that much,
Sure,
you know, to review the other stuff that we've already done.
sure. And the reason we assign is that I think we'll probably have to go back and look a little deeper
Sure.
to each article, but I agree with your suggestion. Okay? So we can go back in the charter. I think we look at E, page 18.
If my notes are correct, we left off at, section 4,
E.
I think that's what it is.
Yeah, that's what I have written down too. So we're gonna start back at E. It's on page 18.
The online version's not, there's no pages.
Section.
Page 18.
Yeah, that's all.
Planning and zoning.
Got Article 5. I think it's 5.
Right.
It's 5.
Division of.
The mayor.
Oh.
We're at, we're in the Division of Buildings and Zoning.
Right.
So that should be
Page 18.
It's E, oh no, I know where we are.
Gotcha.
page 18.
Six.
6.
Article 6.
Article 6,
Section
4,
4.
subsection E.
Article 6.
As I read the first paragraph, we have again this Commissioner of Building, Zoning, Housing shall be appointed by the mayor, subject to approval of council. Now, is this approval of council, is this the 5 and 2 or majority?
It says, it's different wording all through the whole
Yeah.
charter.
Yeah.
If it's going to be at the approval of council, it should at least be consistent in its wording throughout.
That's the biggest thing I'm seeing too. You never know if it's the majority 4-3 or if it's the 5-2. However, everybody who presents seem to understand that it's automatically a 5-2, but that's not what's written constantly, right? I don't know what the history of that is.
You know, there's a double-edged sword in some of this stuff. How does a mayor perceive that every time she's got to get a concurrence of more than 50% when she appoints somebody, when she brings somebody in? You know, she's already at a disadvantage, okay? You could almost flip the page and say that instead, in order for them to not approve her, they would need 5 to disapprove her appointment. You know? So the question is, do you want to look at it as heads or tails? Do you want to give the mayor a little bit of advantage? How did you put this?
The charter in Euclid was a little bit different form of structure. It kind of goes to the question that Mr. O'Toole asked me when I was up here in front of the Finance Committee a couple of weeks ago about this structure. Your structure here in Richmond Heights is the strong council form of government. Euclid's government was called the strong mayor form of government. And what that meant was that you didn't have the requirements for approval that you have here. In fact, the removal section, you didn't have to go to council at all for the removal section. So it is done differently, but there's a sliding scale of models all throughout this state.
Right.
Giving the mayor and council different levels of authority. So I will tell you, Mr. Josselson, in Euclid required a simple majority for confirmation and then no vote of council whatsoever for removal, in which case what the mayor would do is if the mayor removes someone, the mayor could appoint someone as an acting director, and they would remain in that acting capacity until such time as council provided the confirmation. So it is a different format than you do have in Richmond Heights.
I think that all the appointments are by majority. It's the removal, and for whatever reason, and it predates me, the charter requires concurrence of council for removal of only 2 directors, that being public service and the engineer. And I don't know what the history of that is, but I'm sure that it had to do with personalities at one point in time.
I think I saw it more than just those 2.
Right, throughout it, yeah. The only thing that,
Engineers outsource.
what,
Yeah.
5-2 though is not a majority vote.
It's a supermajority.
Exactly,
Right.
that's,
But I think that's only for removal of those
no,
2.
it's throughout for different things.
Well,
Throughout.
different thing, I'm talking about appointment of directors.
It says the appointment of engineering,
Right.
and that's 5 members have to concur.
So, Todd, can I
Mhm.
just go back? You
You
say
know,
that,
I think engineering, it says confirmation by majority, and then removed from office with 5 members.
Says here, shall be appointed by the mayor, but in all instances, the appointment shall require confirmation, okay, by a majority of the vote, okay.
Yeah, I don't know what the history.
Removed by 5.
Yeah, I don't know what the history of that removal was. I've rarely seen removal having to be approved. Now, confirmation is pretty common among suburban communities. But for whatever reason, that was put in years ago. And, you know, a lot of times these are put in because of personalities. I can say that, I don't know why.
That never happens. I might remind this body, if my point of order, Mr. Chairman, that the council president, during his presentation, offered, in order to create some consistency, that the same supermajority removal vote be applied to the finance director position as well. That was in his, in fact, I think he made a written, presentation to this body for that purpose too.
Todd, if I may, in past charter review committees that you've been involved in, you've been here for a while, so there's been a number of them. Has there been as much, shall we say, addressing of what we feel are conflicting statements with those committees as it appears to be with us?
No, there has not been as much discussion as there has been here. And I can't say why, because, you know, they went through it word for word in past committees. So.
Nobody picked that up. I'm sorry.
In hiring, if the mayor is responsible to hire directors or his directors, and he or she is responsible to the citizens of the city, and her view is based on how much achievement that she get, don't you think that sometime that if the council is disapproves someone that she approved, don't you think that put her at another disadvantage? Because she can't accomplish, or he cannot accomplish, the goals that's set by that person for the citizens.
Well, my job's not to opine on politics.
No, I was just
Really?
asking that
It's
question.
not, and so, you know, for whatever reason, these are in here.
It's obvious to every single one of us sitting at this table that there is a problem with council and the mayor making decisions and getting along. It's a little contentious. This is my fear. In looking at a lot of this charter, I see the imbalance of power. And I've done my research on strong mayor council and weak mayor council and city managers. This is definitely a weak mayor, strong council form of government. I would like to see the power shifted where the mayor has a little bit more say without interference from anybody. But my fear is that if we go and swing too far, that pendulum, that on down the road, we will get a mayor holding office who will abuse those powers. As we sit here and are under the perception that powers are being abused right now, I would hate to see it where it then works in the opposite direction. And so my brain bothers me, my conscience bothers me that I want to do the right thing for the residents of the city and make sure that the abuse of power does not take place.
And I think that's something that this committee is going to look at, is the whole structure of the charter, the wording, and that's why we're having these discussions. We're inviting individuals to come sit with us. We have the law director that's, you know, bringing us back to fold. So I think it's a little premature to say the balance of power is going to be shifted. You know, that's probably not even something.
So I am stating,
you know,
my personal opinion
yeah.
right now is I would like to see a strong mayor council government. This is not a strong mayor council. It is a strong council.
Yes, it
mayor.
is. So we have to work
And I'd
within
like
the
to
charter.
shift a little bit of that because if, like you said, the mayor is the figurehead of the city, and the mayor is the one people are going to point their fingers at when things are not going well. But the mayor is not in the position to make a lot of these decisions. I feel a mayor should be able to appoint certain positions with whom the mayor has to work closely with, without approval from anyone else.
I hear what you're saying, but I would kind of like to see our role as strengthening the city.
Well,
Because, and I'll tell you why I say that.
I know why you say that.
And I
if
know
you-
how you, I understand.
These
what
charters
your
do not
conversation-
represent the residents.
That's,
These charters
that's
represent a
my,
corporation.
that's my primary concern in strengthening the city. And we cannot allow for, I mean, who wants to live in a city that cannot allow for any changes? Everything has changed but this body. So we don't want a mayor or council, for that matter, that cannot move the city along. And it was all good, I guess, when it was the little club, but there's been voting for change now. And with this structure, I see it's
I
weakening our
agree
city.
with you, Shardina, but I don't know how one would go about it with this charter, because this charter is,
Well, most of the ones I've looked at, even a simple majority.
yeah, I know that, but if
That
you
keeps
even
the
look at
balance of
this,
power.
how many times do you see the word resident in
Yeah.
here?
But a simple majority with most city charters that I've been online reviewing, that's the balance of power. I mean, it's almost incredible. I've never seen anything that is this type of a majority. When you're talking about, you gotta be able to move it along.
But I understand what you're saying, both, but there isn't a balance right now. And council is strong arming the mayor. She's not able to get anything done or put through because everything she, sets before the table is shot down. We couldn't even get an appointment last week for the ethics committee. And they did not give a reason why they did not approve him. So maybe our problem is not so much with the charter, but with the council.
I like to see us just leave the mayor and the council out. Let's look at this as a tool to move
I don't
the
see how you
city.
can do that because this
We
is
have
the
to do
city,
that.
this
We
is the
have
council
to
and the
do
mayor.
that. We have to do that
Can I
because,
just interject?
Yeah.
Our responsibility was to become to be independent eyes and views with this charter.
right.
And we all signed up to be caretakers of it. So we have to continue to look into the wording and continue to have a dialogue like we're having and try to come up with solutions that's going to make the charter better for everyone. And we can't, we bring the mayor's name, we bring the council name, because this is for the city of Richmond Heights. And that's what this charter is a governing body, and it governs the legislative and the executive branch. So that's where we have to refocus and channel our energies. And that's what I'll ask everyone to do. To refocus, channel our energies to the charter, and let's pull out that information. And each one of you have an assignment, so that should make you even much stronger to have those set of eyes to go into that article and look and then bring back to the table and lead the discussion on that. So we can do the research, we can go out and look at other charters, but let's all sit down and view what's going to be a betterment for the city of Richmond Heights. And if we have a disagreement from an executive body, a legislative body, we should let those two bodies right now have that discussion. And I think we should, as citizens, as residents, and as a charter review, focus in on the information that's inside of this charter. So I ask everyone if we could just re-channel our energies towards that and not, let's not sway left or sway right. Let's stay in the middle and stay focused. I mean, we're doing very well at staying focused, so now it's okay to get back on track. Okay?
Okay, Mr. Bossy Pants.
Actually, I was thinking maybe we should go to any more council meetings. Maybe we should go to any more council meetings.
Don't really let one council meeting view you that way. I mean, that's
Until we're done with this task.
Yeah, that's discussions that they have, and we have to let them have the discussion, so I think that's where we, sit. And so with that, I think we're gonna table where we never got off of E. Go back to E. So next week, we're gonna try to move back to E and start going,
What's gonna be our timetable for presentation?
what is your timetable?
Yes.
What we'll do is, next week we have the finance director. And
He's a whole meeting.
That's a whole meeting.
Yeah.
So I would say on the meeting, the following week, the 15th, we should start our dialogue. And I would just say, I'll go with Stanley's version. We can pick up basically where we left off, and whoever has section E, we can start that dialogue there. Okay. Sure, Don.
When are we supposed to have everything together to and present it to
By
lawyers
August
or
6th.
what? Right.
August.
August?
We have to have.
August 6th is your deadline.
Yes.
Okay.
August
Before
6th.
we know it.
So, yes, so we have to start moving forward. Let's see,
Well, actually, on the presentation, you probably just keep it superficial initially, because that way when you do your discussion, then you'll know more about stuff that people would want to see
yeah.
changed. You know, you don't want to have to take every paragraph and say, every paragraph has to be changed. It's not gonna do you
The
any
most
good.
important.
What you wanna do is be able to narrow it down within reason, and then it doesn't take you days to get the job done. It's about after 7.
Have someone here from the public, Mr. Mattain, would you like to comment? Or any questions?
Nothing really, Mr. Chairman, but thank you for the opportunity. I have to agree with this lady, comments just a little while ago. Just be careful what you're asking for. It is a strong council charter, but there's 7 people sitting on that council. You have 1 mayor. So hopefully, in a perfect world, you think 7 people might have some ideas on some things that the 1 person doesn't. Now, I understand it's the mayor, and she does have to work with people, and she has to answer to the residents. But right now, you have somebody in there that you may like or you may not like. Down the road, it may be just the opposite. So I agree with what she's saying. It has to be for the residents. And I think what you folks are doing is looking at it in the right direction. You can see the difficulties you're having among yourselves of just agreeing on something. Believe me, we do the same thing. Whatever you may think at our council meeting, we hear everybody say yes, yes, no, no, or whatever it is. The work is done in the committees, and hopefully that's where it's debated at, and you sway somebody to your side of thinking, or you don't. But I have to agree with what she's saying. Let's be careful. Thank you.
Thank you, Constantine.
Excuse me, is this open to the public?
Yes.
It's a little late. We're almost
I
done.
thought it was 7:30.
That was early. You're for a
Oh,
different
yeah,
meeting. This is
you're
a
for a
different meeting. This
Yeah,
is a charter for
it's
every meeting.
There's a bump.
A couple of announcements.
If it's okay to.
Yeah,
Sure.
Oh, sure.
Thank you.
A couple of announcements.
Thank
On the 8th of April, we're gonna have Jeff Smock, who's gonna be here. Finance director, he's probably gonna take up basically most of the hour. So he'll probably have some good financial information, and we'll probably have some good questions. Yes. Also, I've reached out to councilperson Starsky Morgan and councilperson Eloise and councilman Alexander by phone. So tomorrow I'm gonna put invitations in their mailboxes here, and we're trying to get them to come at least like the 15th to 22nd. And then there'll be two other individuals that we'll be looking at inviting, and one will be Dan Ursig, and the second one will be the mayor before.
Mayor Boyle.
Mayor Boyle. He was the mayor previous to Dan Ursig. send invitations out to them. Invite them to Are there any questions? Our next meeting will be Tuesday, April 8th, here in the conference room at 6 o'clock. So,
What was the former mayor?
former mayor's name, Dan Ursing and Board.
That it?
Yes.
I'll make a motion we adjourn.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that this meeting be adjourned. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carried.
Good job, boss.
Thank you.